Hello and welcome to Calm Belly TV, my weekly live show where I talk about a FODMAP topic and take your questions. All right, so today we're talking about cooking, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, and I'm going to teach you 3 easy cooking techniques that build flavor. So there are lots of ways to build flavor, and simply tweaking the way that you cook using some easy techniques is one of them. And I really do mean easy, all right? So if you are new around here, I'm Julie O'Hara. My website is calmbellykitchen.com, and I'm a health coach who helps women with IBS manage their symptoms with a practical approach to the FODMAP diet. All right, so that's my quick little spiel. I'm gonna get right into it, okay? So let's see if I have anybody on here live. If you're watching the replay and you have a question, try to tag me so that I see your question and I don't miss it in all the craziness of comments under the video, all right? So I'm happy to answer a question if you are watching this as a replay. Okay, so we're gonna talk about 3 easy techniques you can use to build flavor. So the first one is probably the hardest, but it's still not hard, okay? So the first technique that builds flavor is deglazing. All right, so deglazing is when you add a small amount of liquid to the pan that you're cooking in order to create a flavorful sauce or to bring the flavor of the dish back into the food. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's say you're cooking a steak. All right, you put a piece of beef into your pan, you sear it, it gets browned, you're done cooking it, you take the steak out of the pan. So in that pan, there's all this flavor, all these juices, just those tasty little bits from the steak, or this would be from any piece of meat. So instead of leaving all that tasty flavor in the pan, you would add a little bit of liquid. It could be wine, it could be water, it could be broth. I like to use wine, but if I don't have a bottle of wine open, I will use water. It doesn't have to be wine. So you just pour a little in, you simmer it, and you can turn all that tasty liquid. So now that liquid, the water, the wine, is flavored with the flavor of your steak or whatever is in the pan, and it becomes a little pan sauce. You could go on and do something complicated and add butter and create, a bigger sauce, but just getting that flavor and those pan juices from your cooking back into the dish is the point of deglazing, all right? So has anyone tried deglazing? Let me know. Oh, I've got people on here live. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Maura. Thank you guys so much for joining me live. I love it. I'm going to have time for Q&A at the end, so if you have a question, hang on to it. All right, so the first technique we talked about was deglazing. The second easy cooking technique that builds flavor is seasoning as you go. All right, so again, let me explain. This one is super simple, and this one you could do tonight. If you're gonna cook tonight, give this a try. So when I say seasoning as you go, I mean at every stage of cooking. So seasoning every ingredient, every part of that meal. So let's say I'm making a stir fry. So I'm going to, or like a fried rice. Let's say I'm making fried rice. This is a better example. So I might start by cooking the vegetables. So I'm gonna put some vegetables in a pan. Season those with salt and pepper and with any other spices or dried herbs that you're using in the recipe. So you're gonna season the veggies. All right, so then maybe you take the veggies out of the pan and you add your shrimp. I'm making a shrimp fried rice. I'm gonna season the shrimp with my salt, pepper, any spices I'm using, season it and cook it. And then maybe I'm gonna bring it all together. So I'm gonna add the rice back in. I'm gonna make sure I season that rice. I'm gonna add the vegetables, the shrimp, and bring it all together. And so each element of that dish has been seasoned. Another great example is the curry recipe. That's the newest recipe on the Calm Belly Kitchen blog right now. If you just go to calmbellykitchen.com, you can see that recipe right on the homepage in the blog section. And it's a really simple, easy weeknight shrimp and coconut curry. But the key to having so much flavor in it is that I season each component of the dish. And I start out by cooking the veggies and seasoning those and getting a really great flavor base. So that's what I mean by seasoning as you go. And it doesn't even have to be complicated. Even just making sure that you season all the elements with salt and pepper is the perfect way to start. So just start to think about seasoning at every stage And definitely don't just season at the end, because the dish won't have as much depth of flavor, and it won't be able to permeate all the ingredients like it would during the cooking process. So definitely don't wait until the very end. All right, how are we doing? Oh, so many people joining me live. Thank you so much, guys. Who's here live? Hi, Dickie, good to see you. Hi, Eugenia. That's everybody I see. All right, so we're moving on to the third easy cooking technique that builds flavor. So the third one is roasting. All right, this is sort of the dark horse because a lot of people underestimate how great roasting can be for building flavor. So when I say roasting, I just mean cooking it in the oven at a slightly higher temperature, right? So you cook a lot of things at 350. You call that baking. The difference between baking and roasting is not important, but when you roast, you want something to get browned, maybe even caramelized, so you really bring out the flavor. So you're cooking at about 400 to 425, and where roasting is really, really amazing is with vegetables, okay? So if you're bored of vegetables, if they just are not doing it for you, if they're just not cutting it flavor-wise, cook them in the oven at 400 to 425 and get them nice and browned. I mean, you don't have to burn it, certainly not, but you want a nice, rich, deep brown color. And that's where the sugars of the vegetables, the natural sugars that are in any fruit or vegetable, are going to start to caramelize, and the flavor just goes crazy. So you see this a lot, or you notice this the most in vegetables that kind of have a lot of natural sweetness. So that would be something like carrots, but it also is the same way with zucchini, with fennel, with leeks. If you roast a leek, oh my goodness, you will love it. It is so delicious when all that sweetness comes out. So it's kind of like a sweet onion, except with a leek you can eat the green part of it. It's still low FODMAP. Other good vegetables for roasting are broccoli. So if all your life you've just been eating steamed broccoli, you will never go back once you roast it and get it a little bit crispy, a little bit browned, around the tops. So really, almost any vegetable I prefer to cook in the oven over any other method, because that flavor is just crazy, and you don't have to do any work. You maybe want to flip it around, toss it around the pan once or twice, but that's it, and all the work gets done in your oven. All right, so I'm gonna go over the 3 easy cooking techniques for flavor one more time. So the first one is deglazing. So this is the most advanced, but it's also super easy. So that means just simmering a little bit of liquid in a pan, in the pan that you're cooking with. You can have it when the ingredients are in the pan or out of the pan. You can do it lots of different ways, but the point is to take that flavor from the cooking out of the pan and into the food. So that liquid will simmer around there and all the flavor can carry over and you can pour it back into the dish. The second technique is seasoning as you go. So making sure that you don't wait till the very end to add your salt and pepper or your spices. Add them in stages. So let's say you have a recipe that calls for 1 tablespoon of curry powder. But what you can do is break that up and add a little bit to the veggies at the beginning, add a little bit to the meat, whatever ingredients there are. You don't have to add it all at once, even if the recipe says so. You can make sure that each ingredient gets some love. All right, the third technique for building flavor is roasting. So this works amazingly well for veggies, and try it. It will give all your veggies new life. All right, so let me see if we have any questions. Hi, Kristen, good to see you. We roast veggies all the time: potatoes, carrots, cabbage, broccoli, parsnips, etc. Love it. Yes, and I love that you mentioned cabbage. That is so good roasted. It's one of the veggies that you don't think of roasting very often, but again, oh my goodness, it's going to be the tastiest cabbage you'll ever eat. Potatoes, of course, but really the key to the best potatoes is doing it on about 400 degrees, getting them nice and browned. And huge tip that I almost forgot, I would have been very upset if I had forgotten this, the To caramelize your vegetables in the oven, or really any food, make sure it's really dry. So, you wash off your potatoes or your zucchini. It's got water on it, right? So dry them off before you cut them so that you don't have a wet cutting board. The food isn't getting wet because that water just creates steam in the oven. And wetness and steam is the enemy of that nice brown, crisp coating that you're looking for. So make sure your veggies are dry. The same with any meat or fish that you're putting in a pan and you want to get a nice golden brown outer crust, or outer whatever you want to call it. If it's nice and dry, that really makes a big difference, so that browning can happen. All right, I'm glad you said that, Kristen. Michelle is going to try it. Eugenia says that makes sense. Awesome. Okay, are there any other questions for you that I can answer just about FODMAPs in general, about cooking? We talk about cooking all day. Hi, Christine. Hanging out for a second. So yeah, and I should also say that you can build flavor in a lot of ways. It doesn't always have to be onion and garlic, as we know. It doesn't always have to be spices or herbs. Sometimes it can be the cooking techniques that you use. Really just thinking through, as I cook this food, how am I going to make it the most tasty? It's the deglazing, it's seasoning in stages. Grilling or smoking are two other really great techniques that just add that extra layer of flavor. So, salt and spices aren't the only way to build flavor. And I just did a series on low FODMAP spices. So I did recipes that featured really great flavorful spices that work well in low FODMAP recipes. So go to calmbellykitchen.com, the last 4 recipes. You can learn a lot about some different spices that you might want to add to your repertoire. Hi, Christine. Cool. Let's see. Dickie says, should I expect to do better with IBSD in a couple of weeks? So do you mean, did you just start out doing low FODMAP? Let me know if that's the case. And you want to see how long it's going to take to get better? Let me know if that's what you're asking. If it is, then, provided that you're fully compliant with the low FODMAP diet, and sometimes it just takes a couple weeks to learn what you should and shouldn't be eating. You'll say, oh darn, I thought this was low FODMAP and I made a mistake. It wasn't. That can take 2 or 3 weeks alone, Let's see what it is. And say, so sometimes it just takes time to get really compliant with low FODMAP. And at that point, people with IBSD frequently notice a difference pretty quickly. So I would say 2 to 3 weeks, but definitely give it a good 4 weeks just to be sure. So hopefully that's what you're asking. I've been on this a week. Okay. Again, kind of go through what you're eating, make sure you're compliant with it. Think about other factors like your stress level. Are you eating a lot of raw fruits and vegetables? Sometimes those are just hard on the belly, just, for non-FODMAP reasons. Think about other factors and give it some time. Give yourself some time to get into it and making sure that you're really doing it as accurately as possible. And then, like I said, 2, 3, 4 weeks, you want to see something. And Michelle says, you still have to use low FODMAP portions for seasonings too, right? Well, it depends on the seasoning. So almost every dried spice, the individual spices, so not a blend. If there's a blend that contains onion and garlic, that's gonna be high FODMAP, you wanna avoid it. But if we're talking about cumin, coriander, ginger, all those single spices, those are all low FODMAP. You can use, a pretty large quantity. There's no high FODMAP zone for spices, and salt and pepper is the same thing. So I would say use it to your taste. You're welcome, Dickie. Yeah, if there's a specific seasoning, Michelle, that you wanted to know about, let me know. Let me know. All right. I don't think I missed any questions. All right, so join me here next week. It'll be Wednesday again. I always announce the exact time on my Facebook page and the Facebook group. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for watching. And thank you guys who came and joined me live. I really appreciate it. You can always bring any questions to this. It's a good time to just talk and get your questions answered in real time, and I can ask you for more detail if I need it. Michelle says, oh good, fabulous. The recipes have been wonderful. Thank you so much, Dickie. That's really great to hear. I try. I am adamant that you should be eating really tasty food while you do this. And I know it's possible, and I just want to help people do that and believe it and believe that it's possible. Oh, hey, Maxine says, yes, if FODMAP isn't working, my gastroenterologist put me on Colofac. I'm finding it hard to work and manage IBSD. Please give me more simple recipes. Okay, I will keep that in mind. Yeah, and really think of the food that you ate before and how you can just modify it. So really start simple. You don't have to go all or nothing. You don't have to have this brand new perfect menu immediately. Just really start with like 2 or 3 dinners that you can do when you're busy that are easy for you to do. Something simple that you could do on the weekend. You could roast a chicken on the weekend. You could do a crock pot thing on the weekend. Keep it really simple. Do a big batch of meat and or veg and or rice and quinoa that you can kind of play with throughout the week. So don't think that you have to reinvent the wheel. Really start simple, and then it will get a lot easier as you go. You're welcome, Felicia. Thank you so much for joining. All right, guys, I will see you here next week. I really appreciate you watching and tuning in, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.